Okay, it's exactly 3 p.m. now. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session today. Thank you so much for joining us. We shall begin right away. Our topic this afternoon is from compliance to character, rethinking rules and rewards. And this is a very important topic considering that this is actually the one of the major designs in Primed. If you are aware of Primed by Marvin Berkowitz, all the sessions in this series, aside from addressing teachers' exhaustion, tiredness at this point, at this time of the year, traditionally the time when teachers go through difficult times, especially those who start the school year giving their all to the students. It is around this time when they get very exhausted, exasperated even, or even nearing burnout. And so all these topics we've been looking at have been really related to this. But also, all the sessions have been related to primed, which we will get into in a while. Okay, so the battle cry for this presentation, this afternoon session, is this: raise standards, not just hands. That is what we're going to um, concentrate on in this session. This is the overarching idea that we are going to look at. Many times you have teachers who are more concerned about enforcing rules, policies, classroom rules, no? Getting the students to do what they want them to do because it's the rule, because it's my policy inside the classroom. Or to get the students to do what they want to do, they make the students work for rewards, doling out rewards. And unfortunately, of course, many students grow up with that mindset because we are especially very strong in this aspect of giving rewards in the early years, preschool, primary school, students going home with a star on their hand if they do something good, or they want to be given a ribbon or a certificate or a reward. So you have teachers who may be more concerned about making enforcing rules or giving out rewards to make the students do what they want them to do, hoping that students also, by offering rewards or using rules, classroom rules, that they will also behave, that their behavior is also going to show improvement. However, research shows that sustainable growth happens when we move beyond obedience and go into the realm of interior formation, internalization. Okay? Sustainable growth, especially of character, happens when we go beyond simply rules, making the students follow the rules or making them do what we want them to do by dangling in front of them rewards in whatever form. So, today's session is this. We are going to be challenged to shift from surface level compliance, merely complying with what the teachers want, especially related to rules and rewards, and then to go into real, authentic character formation. Now, I mentioned earlier Primed by Dr. Marvin Berkowitz, the best book available now on character formation. It's unfortunately it's not available in National Bookstore, but it is available in Amazon. You can get hold of a copy, um, where Dr. Marvin Berkowitz put together all the important studies made about forming character, especially inside a classroom. But this is forming character in a community, in a family, in a society, in an institution, even in a tertiary setting, college, university. So he said there, if you want to work on character formation, if you want to improve the formation in character, in virtues, in values of students, of people, of your workforce, of your faculty, then these are the 7 things we should be looking at. Prioritization. Are you prioritizing character formation? Relationships, developing relationships. And many of the sessions we've had so far really are all about forming relationship. For education to be effective, it must be personal. There has to be that personal relationship. And then the most important um, point design for our session today is intrinsic motivation. Character formation means that you get the students to internalize, be informed, becoming better, growing in values, improving in their character. Not external, not motivated externally, meaning to say they are not going to do good because you're threatening them with a punishment, external, or you're dangling a reward in front of them, reward or punishment, but because they know they have to be good, they have to do good. Okay, so that's the point that we are going to tackle today, the intrinsic motivation, how to go beyond merely complying with your rules, that's external, and actually go for character, character formation. And then modeling, we will also talk about that. It is also part of what we need to do in order to go beyond compliance. The teacher has to be the role model. Adults in the school all have to model the virtues we want to see in the students. All adults, including the ladies in the cafeteria, the security guards, the maintenance men, the staff in the office, all of them have to model the virtues we want to see among our students. And for us to be able to do that, we have to empower everyone. That's the letter E in primed, empowerment. And then finally, developmental pedagogy, because it doesn't work overnight. We cannot do this overnight. The character formation is a long process, and we will have to work on it based on the different developmental stages of the students. Okay, so but for today, our main point in primed is intrinsic motivation. So let's go. Part one, why compliance is not enough. Class, you better behave, you better follow my rules, you better comply, or else. That's what some teachers do. They threaten, or else. Here are my 5 rules inside the classroom, and I dare you to break them. If you choose to break them, then face the consequence. They will comply because they don't want the consequence. They don't want the um, punishment, penalty, sanction, consequence. But some teachers do it. Why? Because their teachers did it when they were students. We tend to teach according to how we were taught. And for too long, that is how schools have been run. Like as if it's all about You better comply with my rules. But it's not enough. So here are the top five problems of a compliance-based classroom. Sure, students will keep quiet because they don't want to be punished. They don't want to be detained. They don't want to be suspended because the teacher will send them out of the classroom. Complying, but that is not making the students any better as far as character is concerned. Here are the top five problems of compliance. Superficial obedience. Externally, the students will say, yes, sir, I will keep quiet because you will punish us if we don't. Yes, sir, I will study hard because you said you're going to write a note to my parents if I do poorly. Externally, they're saying yes, but at the back of their mind, they may be full of uh, not just resistance, but even um, this feeling that is negative. If only the teacher is not looking there. If only the teacher will not know, then I can do whatever I want. So, superficial obedience, that is what happens in some classrooms. Students may be obeying, complying, following rules, but in a very superficial way. And once there is no teacher inside the classroom, then they do what they like because there's no teacher to punish anyway, to punish them. Or the opposite of that is they will only do the right thing in order to get a reward. So what happens if there is no reward? They will not do it anymore. They're not going to study hard anymore. They're not going to follow your rules anymore. And that is a danger. That is a problem of a compliance-based classroom. Reward-dependent behavior. Or if they do something right, they will expect you to give them a ribbon, to give them a certificate, to give them a star in their notebook or in their palm or in their hand. What do I get if I follow? That's second problem. Or here is what happens in some classrooms of a terror teacher. The students are motivated by fear. They will comply because they're afraid of the teacher, because the teacher is scary when he or she gets mad. But it's still all about complying just to be able to avoid a negative thing, a punishment, a consequence. Here's another one: short-term results. As I said earlier, okay, they will comply, they will follow your rules because you shouted, you screamed, you yelled, and they're afraid. And at that moment, okay, they will comply. But as soon as you leave the classroom, they're back to uh, misbehaving, breaking rules, doing what they like because you're not there anymore. Short-term results. And number five, top five, the fifth top problem of a compliance-based classroom. The students really do not have moral ownership or reflection. As I said, they will only do what you want them to do because they want to avoid the punishment or they want to get a reward, not because they know it is something good. They know it is the right thing to do. So I'm sure many of you have seen different kinds of students who are like that. They may be compliant, but once you turn your back, once you are not watching, once you are not there inside the classroom, they just do whatever they want. Think, do you have a student who is like that? Always following rules, but you are not sure if the student he or she truly understands why. Why they have to keep quiet, why they should not bully a classmate, why they have to be kind, why they have to study and study hard and work hard in their subject. Um, is it just because of the punishment or the reward that motivates them? Part two, let's go to the roots of real behavior. Here are some reasons why students, human beings for that matter, behave. Here's the first. Some behave because of strong beliefs. And you have kids like this who come from very good families, and their parents tell them, son, you have to behave well inside the classroom because you're carrying the name of the family. And therefore, that's what he brings inside the classroom. And the behavior shows what the parents expect of them. Because the parents have already explained to them what it means to be a member of the family. That it's a family that is kind, caring, hardworking, patient, responsible, high values. So, beliefs, emotions, those really many times shape the behavior. But we have students who come from families, from homes where they are not reminded because the parents are too busy working, making a living. They don't even have family dinner time to be able to talk about, so what happened in school? You have to behave, you have to be good, you have to. Many, I get surprised, no, when I find out that many students today, many young people today, they're only able to take family dinner, I mean, have dinner as a family during weekends. But it's in the family dinner where they're supposed to be learning from their parents values, virtues, character. So that's why this is problematic now. You have students coming inside our classroom and they don't know how to behave properly because their beliefs were not formed, their emotions were not formed. Here's another influence of peer culture and whatever is expected of them in the classroom. That's why Dr. Harry Wong, the author of the best-selling book, the best book you can ever have on classroom management, entitled First Days of School, talks about this: procedures and routines, classroom norms, because they are what will dictate how the students will behave for the rest of the year. Influence of peer culture, many times it's negative. Many times misbehavior comes because of the peer culture, pressure from the peers to behave in a certain way. I mean, okay, there are exceptions. I've seen students, for example, who are in a group of friends with very good values, with very good beliefs, and they all carry that kind of culture with them in their classroom. That's a very good thing. But more often than not, what we see is influence of peer culture is many times negative. But if we teachers, class advisors especially, are able to influence that culture, then we stand a better chance of succeeding in getting good behavior. That's why you can go to the YouTube channel where we upload the recordings of our sessions at Character Formation. That's the name of the channel. Or you can also search Man Rentoy, and you're going to see many webinars there. Look for class advisory and the power of the class advisor to form the class culture, class identity, class spirit. That is the power of the class advisor. to be able to create a positive culture for the classroom. Emotional states and regulation. This also many times dictate how the students behave inside the classroom, or internal and external motivation. So these are the things that shape behavior beyond rules, beyond rewards, beyond complying to the teacher's requirements inside the classroom. Let's go to part three now. Let's move from rules to relationship. You remember, I go back to that slide I showed you earlier, primed, and I said we are going to concentrate on intrinsic motivation. And now the strategy we are being taught is develop relationships. In order to um, go beyond compliance, we have to foster strong relationships with our students. So here are four strategies that shape the inner character of the students, going beyond compliance and going towards developing relationship. Number one, strategy given to us here: talk less, connect more. Relationship over reprimand. If, for example, a student misbehaves, don't just implement your rules and then make the students face the consequence of the negative thing that they did. Rather, we have to talk to the students and try to go beyond simply the compliance to rules and find out, why did you behave that way? Why did you do that? Why did you not study hard? Why did you fail the quiz? Many times we will find out more. Is there anything I can help you in to prepare for the next unit test so that you're able to catch up? Talk less, connect more, develop that relationship to make the students see that we are here to help them, to support them. We are not just here to implement rules and then to give consequences, whether it is positive, reward, or negative, punishment. Number two, norms over rules. This is a very key, very important element, which, as I mentioned earlier, the class advisors are in a best position to be able to succeed or to successfully implement. Create a culture inside the classroom, a culture of respect, responsibility, hard work, teamwork, a culture where those who are doing well will make themselves available for those who need more support, or those who are lagging behind can count on the better students to help them. It's a culture. It's norms more than just rules. You fail, you have to repeat the subject. You are not able to submit your project, you will be given a failing grade. Those are all rules, but rather make put in place those norms over rules. Number three, model virtue. This will shape the character of the students. As soon as you put an adult in front of young people, character formation starts happening because of role modeling. Teachers should be mirrors and mentors. Mirrors of what you want the students to become, mirrors of what you want to develop in the students, and mentors for the students to be able to copy the example, the good example of the role models, the teachers. And number four, replace the do this or else. That's punishment, that's consequence, that's compliance. Replace that with here's who we want to become. Together, we'll work on this. I'm going to give concrete example of this later on when I give you um, lines to use. Say this, not this. Don't say this. Instead, we say this. This is part of a later portion of our presentation. Okay, part four. Let's rethink rewards. Um, Simply because we've been giving rewards ever since time immemorial. I mean, really, um, who said we should always give recognition to first honor, second honor, third honor? I mean, is there anything in the books that say it really is the most effective way to teach character? There's none. I mean, there's nothing written, no research ever made that say that if you give rewards and recognitions, students will become better human beings. None. But we've been doing it because simply that's how we've always done it. That's how we always had it when we were students. When our parents were students, there were always rewards, recognitions, um, ribbons, certificates. But here are top five dangers of over rewarding. Number one, if we over reward, it can undermine intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is when students will do the right thing not because of a punishment or a reward, but because it is the right thing to do. But if you dangle certificates, recognition, honors, medals, trophies, then that becomes their motivation. Not anymore intrinsically, they know it is the right thing to do. And you apply that to real life situation. This is what we find ourselves now in Philippine society. You have politicians who will not hesitate to steal for as long as they don't get caught, who will cheat for as long as they do not get caught. That's like the mindset. Why? Because intrinsic motivation has been undermined for too long. So here's another danger of over rewarding. It can create dependence and entitlement. And it's true. This is what we sometimes see even among good performing students. You know, top performing students, valedictorian, salutatorian, they develop a certain dependence. They expect to be rewarded. They will expect to receive um, the trophy, the medal, the the privilege of delivering the address during graduation. They expect it. I mean, try to imagine if your school suddenly decides no valedictory speeches during graduation. For sure, your top students are going to raise hell and they're going to complain. This is unfair. That becomes like it has become like an entitled mindset, no? Because of this over rewarding. Number three, it devalues the virtue of effort, especially because we have recognition for the, let's say, honor students, but we don't have recognition for a student who was failing, and then works very hard, really has been struggling, and suddenly gets very high grades. Well, maybe not even very high, but simply 85, 86, for example, because of effort, because he really is not as talented as the brilliant students, but it's sheer effort, staying up late, studying even on a weekend and all the way to evening. Um, but we don't have any recognition for that effort. What we give recognition to, what we give rewards to, are the top five, number one, number two. Some of them are such geniuses, they don't even need to study as hard as this guy who just got merely a grade of 86, but it required a lot of sacrifice on his part. Here's a fourth: turns virtue into currency. I was kind. Where's my prize? I was honest. Where is my recognition? I turned in the lost and found. Where is my applause? The virtue starts becoming like a currency, and then they demand it. They demand it. And the number five, over rewarding can weaken moral identity. And again, sometimes we encounter students like this who will do good, do the right thing because he is expecting a reward. Now, nobody is watching. What's the point of doing good, doing the right thing? I'm not going to be given recognition for that. That weakens the moral identity. So, what we teachers need to do really is to shift the narrative from rewarding good behavior to recognizing character growth. Students should be not just given recognition for, I mean, being given rewards for behaving well, but especially for becoming more kind, more caring, more hardworking, more punctual, more the signs of real character growth. That is what we have to do, building a culture of character. And with that, we're going to stop merely complying or getting the students to comply and actually working on getting them to develop character. Here are some concrete practices that you can start doing tomorrow so that you are really building a culture of character. First, we have to stop saying things like, class, you better behave or else. That's compliance to my rules. Class, if you study hard, we're going to watch a movie. If everybody passes the long test next week, I'm going to have a film showing reward. We have to veer away from those things and start instead using more and more virtue language. John, good job. That was kind of you to lend a ball pen to Joanna. Joey, I saw you cleaning your area, even if I didn't tell you. Good job. That's what it means to be responsible. You see, making use of words like this: responsible, hardworking, kind, caring, virtues. Our language should be full of references to values and virtues. Starting tomorrow, the recommendation for us here is concretely, starting tomorrow, make more and more references to virtues. For example, okay, class, please start studying for next week's exam. Okay, do not cram. And I expect you to be honest. You will not even think about cheating. Study hard so that you will not even think about cheating. That's honesty. That's being sincere. That's being truthful, using virtues. Class, the room is disorderly. Come on, let's keep the room clean and orderly. Everybody stand up and arrange the chairs and make the room look orderly, because this is what it means to be virtuous, to have the virtue of order. Things like this should be coming out of our mouth. Highlight silent strengths. Like when you tell a student, I noticed you returned the book even when no one was looking. Good job. I saw you cleaning even when I didn't ask you to. That's good. That's so kind of you. Um, Things that otherwise students would not even notice or realize, but some of the students are actually doing virtues that they're actually practicing. And then celebrate struggle. Um, John, I know you had a hard time last exam, but look, you did very well in this test. Good job, because you didn't give up, because you tried harder. That's grit. That's hard work. Keep it up. You see, you are okay, praising the person, but more than the person, you're actually praising the virtue that the person practiced. Now, negatively, these are the things we have to avoid. So, the remember, we're talking about concrete things that we can actually start doing tomorrow. More and more virtues, language of virtues coming out of our mouth, that we are concerned, that we notice virtues and character being, I mean, virtues being practiced. So here are some things that we have to veer away from and instead go to language of virtue. Don't say, stop talking. John, stop talking. Keep quiet. Joanna is reciting. That's Instead of saying that, we can say something, okay, John, let's show respect by listening to your classmate while they are reciting, while they are speaking. Let us show respect. Or if a student, for example, does not do well in your subject, don't say, don't be lazy. Instead, say positive things like, I believe you have the strength to push through and grow in perseverance. Keep on trying. Spend more time um, industriously um, studying the subject matter at home on your own. That's better than don't be lazy. Besides, saying don't be lazy is judgmental. Maybe it's not that the guy was lazy. He really is just having a hard time understanding the lesson. Maybe because it's really a difficult lesson. Maybe he really needs more assistance, more support. Instead of saying you're being rude, say instead, kindness means treating others the way you'd want to be treated. Let's try that again. So, you see the big difference? On the left, instead of saying, you have those like accusations. You're accusing the student of something. And instead, what we want is no, we're highlighting certain virtues, character based actions. Instead of saying you didn't follow instructions, you will say something like, being responsible means giving your full attention. How can we do better next time? Instead of telling a student, why are you always late? Say instead, punctuality is a sign of respect. It's more respectful not to make people wait for you or not to delay things. How can I help you arrive on time? So those are, you see the shift. Remember, this is what we are saying. If we are to build a culture of character, then the language of virtue has to come out again and again. Now, reinforcing positive behavior as virtue in action. Instead of simply saying, good job, highlight, that was diligent of you. You're really focused today. Keep it up. Instead of simply saying, nice, you say something like, you showed real honesty by admitting your mistake. That is being honest. That is being sincere. I like that. Instead of saying, I'm proud of you, simply you say something like, you showed compassion when you helped your classmate without being told. How I wish everyone saw that. How I wish everyone will imitate that. Instead of simply saying, great answer, you say something like, you showed confidence and courage in sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much for that. Let's see other answers. The idea is how we react to situations, how we talk about whether negative or positive thing that happens inside the classroom, how we make reference to it will matter a lot in the kind of culture that we are able to create or to build among our students. For example, a student who talks back or disrespects, what we can say is, I can tell that you're frustrated, but part of growing in self control is choosing respectful words even when we feel upset. You see, you don't get angry, you don't punish right away, especially because I've seen teachers act like this. No? As soon as they see misbehavior, their tendency is to punish right away, to detain, to suspend, principal's office, like as if immediately their mindset is a misbehavior deserves a punishment because he broke my rules, he has to face the consequence. But here, what we are being told is no, wait. And instead of just thinking about the compliance, think about culture of character. Or when you see a student, for example, using a gadget without permission, well, it's very challenging for a teacher not to react in a negative way right away. But what we are told is this, to resort to talking in order to build a relationship, in order to build a culture of character. Using your device when it's not allowed may seem small. But you see, John, integrity means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. You see the big difference. And you see the possible um, the effect on the environment and the mindset and the thinking of the students. A student refusing to do work, well, you can say something like this. You might not feel like it now, but perseverance is choosing to begin, even when it is hard. You see the big difference, and yet the great consequence or the great effect that it can have. Correcting with reflection, not just command. Make the students think, make the students reflect. When they do something wrong, try asking things like this. What do you think a person of integrity would do in this situation? If someone did that to you, would you feel respected? What would it look like to practice courage in this moment? Let's pause and try that again, but this time let's do it with kindness. I know this is easier said than done. I mean, I have been inside the classroom for many years, many times. It's easier to shout, to express our anger, to express our frustration. But if we are working on being role models, on developing, on building a relationship, on building a culture, on forming character, then all these things will matter more and will actually make more sense. Okay, so then when they apologize, nurture the virtue. Our usual reply if a student apologizes is we say, okay, but a virtue based reply would be something like, thank you for showing humility by apologizing, apology accepted, or anything at all that will highlight the, well, the courage they had to admit their mistake. Or the usual reply sometimes if a student apologizes is fine. Well, instead, what we can say is owning up to your actions takes courage. Good job. Keep it up. I admire you for that. And your classmates admire you for that. Instead of simply reacting, okay, fine, or it's all right. Sometimes that's how we react when a student comes to us to apologize for something that he has done wrong. Well, a virtue based reply would be, good job, John. You're growing in maturity. That means a lot. You have changed a lot from how I've seen you in the beginning of the school year. Keep it up. So, all these can be very, very helpful, especially if we keep in mind that we are not just in the classroom where we want the students to comply, to do what we want them to do, um, in order to follow our rules by threatening, by giving rules, by giving sanctions, or dangling a reward. But instead, we are building relationships, building a culture of character. To end, I'd like to tell you of the story of Mr. Esteban and the Jar of Stars, a very powerful story based on real themes, but well, maybe you can say fictionalized a bit for emotional impact. Mr. Esteban, a teacher, was known for his jar of stars. Every time his grade 5 student, every time his grade 5 students followed directions, participated well, or behaved quietly, they would earn a shiny gold star in a glass jar on his desk. Okay? If they're able to collect 20 stars, the class would get extra recess. If they are able to get 30 stars, then they would have donuts. Remember, this is like at whim when Mr. Esteban is pleased that the class does something right, something good, he would give them a star. He would put a star in the jar. Okay? The kids loved it. The parents raved about it. And the principal praised him. It worked. It worked. Or so he thought. One day, a quiet boy named Marco came up after class and said, Sir, if I don't get a star, does that mean I was bad today? Mr. Esteban smiled and tried to explain. But Marco just nodded and walked away, head low. That night, Mr. Esteban thought about the question, thought about it. Were they really learning virtue? Or are they just chasing sugar and praise? Are they just after the donuts or the praise? Was kindness now a currency? Was obedience now a performance. He thought about those things. He thought about those questions. The next week, the jars, the jar of stars disappeared. In its place, he put a poster with a question. What kind of person do I want to become? So, no more jar, no more stars. Instead, he put that poster. What kind of person do I want to become? The students were confused at first. Some whined, some complained, some even asked, so, what do we get if we behave? Mr. Esteban simply smiled and said, you get to become someone worth becoming. And then Mr. Esteban, instead of putting stars every time he sees something that something good that the class would do, he began to call out virtue instead of behavior. That took self-control. You showed integrity just now. You helped even when no one was watching. That's real compassion. At the end of the term, a parent came in and said, sir, I don't know what you did, but my daughter wrote in her diary, today I was brave. She used to just write, today I got a star. Thank you, the parent went on. So the key takeaway there is Mr. Esteban may have lost the cheers, but he gained something deeper: respect, reflection, formation. So go beyond mere compliance, go beyond rules and rewards, and instead start building a culture of character, a classroom where students are driven to be the best human beings they can possibly be, not because there is a reward awaiting them, not because there is a punishment that they are avoiding, but because it is the right thing to do. Okay, we've reached the end of our session today. Please scan the QR code to and fill up the form to claim your certificate, or you can also click on the link that is now posted in the chat box and fill up the Google form for you to be able to get your certificate. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and we hope to see you in our other future sessions. We'll end the Zoom room. We'll close the Zoom room in 3, 2, bye everyone, and 1.